Today is June 19th, the day that Henry Davis will make his Major League debut. The 2021 number one overall draft pick has been called up to the Major Leagues. You're listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Yins, guys. Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother Jake. What's up, Jake?
What's going on? Out here on the road, bud.
Yeah, Jake joining from the iPhone today.
Yeah.
So those of you...
I'm out here in Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay. So those of you on video, if you notice that Jake's mouth's moving, just be patient. The audio will come. When you just said that, it was like, and then you started talking.
That's funny.
So yeah, obviously didn't take your whole setup and all this stuff. So just to try to pack light. So this is what we're going with. It's fine.
Yeah.
Real
quick, before we get started, I just want to throw this out there. We are recording this on Sunday, obviously. So happy Father's Day, dude. To you and to our dad. Happy Father's Day to him. Our other brother, Father's Day, all that good stuff.
Yeah. I need
to get that out of the way early.
Did you call Dad?
I have not called him yet, so
it's gonna be a race. I haven't either. I talked to JP.
We're giving him some shouts out on here, and he listens.
No, I know. We were doing some things earlier, and I was like, yeah, we were watching the game. And then I was like, I'll call him after the game. And then when you texted, and you were like, let's do this right after the game. Okay. And then it was the 8th inning, and so I was like, I'll call him when we're done. We'll be fine. But I was like, we just hadn't called him. I fell asleep for a while today. It was just kind of one of those days, you know what I mean? So I was like, dang it. I was like, I got to call him. I was like, am I going to be the last one to call him again? But maybe not. Maybe I can beat you.
Maybe
I'll let you go first.
Hey, I brought it up on here, so either way it works.
You were the first to bring it up. You're right.
We're good.
Yep, we're good. Great news in the middle of a bunch of bad news. How does Henry Davis?
Let's go.
We're going to get into Henry Davis. We're going to talk about all the things Henry Davis. We're very excited. I'm not a finally kind of person. I think I would have been a little more of a finally kind of person if we were saying Andy. And we'll get to some of that, but also there's some things to talk about still. The Pirates are in the middle of a stretch of not playing well. Not winning games, things like that. We've been talking about that, but we are now at 6 straight losses. They're all on the road, all to division opponents. We were heading into these 6 games. As far as our division goes, we had the best record against our division. That's obviously going to, change at this point. I don't have the number pulled up here, but I might as well say it while we're here. So we are now, we're now 11-18. Nope. We are now 10-10 against our division, where Milwaukee now sits 11-5. I guess we're still better than the Cincinnati 11-12, Cubs 6-8, and St. Louis 10-13. But because of Milwaukee, I guess they were already. We would have been 10-7, and they would have been 8-5. So they kind of had us there, I guess, a little bit, just for the sake of not playing as many games. But you get the idea.
Yeah,
you get the idea. So anyway, I guess it probably would have been about the same. But man, where do you want to go? Do you want to talk about the games a little bit? Do you want to be frustrated first? Do you want to get into Henry Davis? We got some injuries to talk about. A couple minor league updates while we're talking about a debut. We've got some other minor leaguers to talk about. Not extensively, but do you want to go into maybe the frustration of the series a little bit first and get it out of the way?
Sure. These games got away from us. I feel like we got a good start from Ortiz today or Sunday, and that game got away from us. I was able to watch some of the game on the Apple Plus on my way out here
On
Friday evening. And like, if it wasn't for Rich Hill's bad first inning, probably could have got that game.
Yeah.
It's just, if it's not one thing, it's another right now, and things just pile up and just make it so bad. It's almost hard to watch. I'd say at times.
Yeah, and you have good things kind of peeking through in some of the different ones today. The home run from Brian Reynolds was a big deal. That was a great pitch. I mean, it's high and in, as far high and as far in as you can get and still be a strike, and he absolutely crushed it. And so, there are home runs that you earn that aren't thrown, you know what I'm saying? And I felt like that was one. And to me, that was a good sign for Brian Reynolds. He wasn't thrown a home run in that scenario, but he earned one, and I thought that was really good. But yeah, Ortiz.
And I know it was early in the game, but still tie game, whether it's 0-0, 2-2, whatever it is. It's a tie game, even at 0-0. And to put the Bucks not only on the board, but in the lead. Like, a lot of people say his home runs are meaningless, which sometimes he hits that solo shot there. It doesn't mean a lot, but
yeah,
to get one in a spot is a good thing.
I actually had forgotten about that, since Sawinski's the one that they really go on the meaningless homers. But yeah, I mean, good point. And Sawinski's done a lot of that early on, hitting a home run to tie or whatever, but not late, right? But either way, Reynolds, it's good to see the power from Reynolds happening on something, where he's earning it in a sense, not on just a bad pitch. Anyway, Luis Ortiz, you're right. He did have a good start. I thought, as I was watching it early on, I was like, is this maybe the best start he's had this year? And then I thought it was a really quick hook. To get one more out in the fifth inning and get him, you know what I mean? If he could have just got that one out. Now, Majinski got the out and it didn't hurt, you know what I mean? But I would have liked to have seen Ortiz. I do have a question about the Majinski call, though, because Baraki was in. Recently called up. We'll get to our transactions here in a second. The left-hander, Baraki. And all of a sudden, it was like you got Rowdy Tellez coming up, and then they bring in Majinski, and I was like, that doesn't seem right. And they're like, this is very surprising. They're doing the whole thing, and I thought to myself, I wonder if Shelton just pointed with the right arm, and it was one of those things where it was like, you have to point with the arm you want. You can't point with your left arm and bring in a righty. You can't do that. So I was wondering if there was something along those lines, but I don't think so. I think they wanted Majinski. I don't know. But he pitched well, and that he's looked good since his call up. Which is, oh my goodness, what we've needed. Moretta again with a blown save, kind of a struggle there. And Bednar, I mean, he gave up a long sac fly that was a great catch by Bay. He covered a lot of ground on it for the sac fly, and then really just a base hit where there was a base running blunder, or we would have still been playing that inning. I didn't like going to Bednar there either. One out, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know who you were going to go to in the ninth. So my fear was, well, we're just going to go to Bednar in the ninth, and he's going to keep going. And part of me understood that. Part of me was a little bit curious. You know what I mean?
A lot of it, I think, is the injuries right now, because we have not done a whole lot of 2-inning work with anyone this year. And it seems like lately, let's get this out, and then you pitch the next inning.
Yeah.
Which I know there was only one out there with Bednar, but I think he
Right.
just wanted his best guy on the mound.
Yeah. I mean, it was a tie game at that point, and he said, "Can we keep this thing tied?"
Yeah.
So going into that, two more down. Zastryzny heads to the IL, which brought up Carmen Mlodzinski that we just talked about. Jose Hernandez goes there with a right calf strain. Zastryzny's left forearm inflammation. But once Jose Hernandez goes down, they bring up Ryan Barucki, the left-hander, who's had a cup of coffee in the majors or so. It's not necessarily what you want.
Right.
But when you take a look at these injuries, for starters, you have Brubaker, Velasquez, Mike Burrows, and Max Kranick. When you look at the total picture of depth, right? We talk about
Right.
depth. Max Kranick, we knew was going to be hurt, so that's a little bit different. But when you lose Brubaker, Velasquez, and Mike Burrows, who we thought was, he was added to the 40-man, so we thought we could maybe see him if there were some injuries. He could have been an option here instead of Beto. You know what I'm saying? Had, things gone a little different. And he's kind of in that Quinn Priester territory where he's a guy that you think could be a major league starting pitcher.
Yeah.
Where
Sure.
Osvaldo Beto is a little bit of a surprise, maybe let's see what he can be. We're not real sure. You know what I'm saying? Obviously anybody can have a path there, but you just weren't sure.
You're right.
So, your depth is hurt. And now you're saying, how thin are we? If you look at relievers, Colin Holderman, Harleen Garcia, Jose Hernandez, and Rob Zastryzny, and Will Crow, and Colin Selby, who would be a normal, like, hey, why aren't we bringing up Colin Selby? Well, he just got activated on Friday, and he'd been on the injured list since May 19th. So there is just... It doesn't feel like that's a big list, but it doesn't feel like it's like, oh, well, they're up against it, right? Because there's still people there.
Right.
But then you add in the fact that, like, well, right now Roanzi's in our bullpen and not doing, he did pitch two scoreless innings against the Brewers on Saturday, right? Yep, yeah. On Saturday, 2 scoreless innings going in for Mitch, which Mitch was another mixed start too. He gives up the 4 runs, but I thought for the most part it was good. 7 Ks. He did have the 3 walks, but it was just like, oh, he gave up the homer and then he gave up the double. Other than that, he was pretty good. He got his strikeout stuff back, you know what I mean? And so it was, I thought it was like, all right, it got away from him a little bit. But you look at the line and you're like, oh, he stunk again. You know what I mean? It was a little bit different. But then Contreras comes in and he throws 2 innings, and it might be a little bit of the different story. He seemed to get a little bit of chases there, and I wonder if they'd have just been patient. it might have been different for him. I don't really know, but either way, the depth is hurt, the injuries are there, and so it would be easy for me to kind of get discouraged about that and say, well, this is it then. You know what I'm saying? Now it's going to be the cast of misfit characters in the bullpen and all this stuff, and who is there going to be? Do we even have any starters left and stuff like that? You do still have Quinn Priester. He is still a work in progress. There's a lot to sharpen up, but you do have him. That if injuries go down, getting him a cup of coffee this year would not be the worst thing. If there's something that he can learn from and build on. But also, we talked about Kyle Nicholas being promoted to Indianapolis, Anthony Solomito going up to AA. A little update there. Solomito in his AA debut, 5 innings, 4 runs, 2 of them earned, 6 hits. He gave up a homer, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. So all in all, he gets the loss, but all in all, that's not a bad start. He seemed to kind of get the confidence going a little bit the more he pitched. Kyle Nicholas in his AAA debut only went 4 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs, a homer, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. He also got a loss. Little bit of a more difficult start there for him. But at the same time, like, it's almost good when you're talking about development and prospects. It's, results are great, but a lot of times it's good to have a blueprint of like, okay, what I do wrong, how can I be better right out of the gate? You know what I'm saying? And I think both
Yeah.
of them got that without being like 2 innings, 8 runs. You know what I'm saying? Like one of those, you don't really learn
Yeah.
anything there. You say, well, I stunk.
Right. Right. Failure is how you grow. If you're not failing, you don't learn how to fail and move forward. And that's huge in baseball. Huge.
Do you think that's a bigger thing in the minor leagues as it is? I mean, like, because if you get to the major leagues and you're just failing, you notice a lot more hanging your head type of thing. And I've seen a lot of people, because you're there, right? I've seen a lot of people say, dude, Rowe needs to go to AAA. He needs to get this thing fixed. And I kept thinking, if he's going real bad and he goes to AAA, because I hear a lot of go to AAA and get your confidence up. What if he goes to AAA and keeps getting hit? You
Yeah.
actually run a risk of that guy never making it back. Do you
Yeah.
think that's a thing? Or as pitchers, do you think, you can kind of figure that out either way?
I think you can kind of figure it out either way because your pitches are going to do what your pitches are going to do, whether you're throwing them in the major league level or throwing them at the minor league level. However, when it's just straight up confidence is your biggest issue, it's hard to get your confidence back no matter what level you're at if you're still getting hit.
Yeah.
Until you see results as a pitcher, it's just hard to walk out on that mound and have the same confidence and the same aura, if you want to go there, and just be able to go out and say, I'm going to dominate. Because that you have to have that mindset in order to, in fact, do well.
So
if you don't think you're going to go out and dominate a lineup, you're going to get hit.
does that change if you're saying I'm getting blasted here at the major league level because I'm not doing what I'm doing, and then you go to the minors, you get blasted there, you still think that it's the same? Because you can outstuff people a level down, and if you say I
Right.
can't even outstuff people anymore, you know what I'm saying? Like I just wonder if it's like, well, I'd rather him get banged around here than if he goes down and he just starts getting hammered. It's not gonna go well.
There's definitely that risk for sure.
That'd be interesting. Because I mean, hitting I think is a little bit different than pitching. Pitching, you have the upper hand. I mean, hitters, fail most of the time, which means pitchers succeed most of the time.
Yeah.
So if you're not succeeding most of the time or even half the time, it's not good.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different for hitters where you can struggle, and just try to find another way out. I feel like you've got a longer timeline of where you're saying, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. Where pitchers, I think we have a lot shorter leash on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So anyway, yeah, I just think in general, not a good place.
Right.
However, with every time somebody gets moved up, Solomita went to AA, but he's 20 years old. We're not going to see him this year, right? But if he keeps dominating, what does that do for your depth when you start saying, hey, this guy here might actually be coming up next year if he's good enough? You know what I mean? If he can keep moving. You talk about a 21-year-old. Even if it's a 22-year-old and 25, that's a huge impact when you talk about the names that are there now and who's going to be disappearing and stuff like that. So, there's a lot there that's positive. Also, number 10 prospect Jared Jones has been promoted from AA to AAA as well. Second round pick in 2020, has been really good. I thought I had this page up. Where's it at? Here's a page. It can come from just about anywhere, but just to call it out there, I'm reading this from Jason Mackey's post from yesterday. Late last night. But it's just reading out his 2.23 ERA in 10 starts with the curve, 16 walks, 47 strikeouts in 41 and a third innings. Opponents hitting 201 against him, 1.08 whip. So very good. Very good.
Yep.
So hopefully we see from Jared Jones that type of movement. I don't have. Let me look one more because I think it matters a little bit. You're looking at a 21-year-old. In August, he'll be 22. So still young, but he's another guy that's, let's see, minors. He's pitched in 54 games. I don't know. You know what I mean? Oh, you just flipped sideways, Jake. Oh no, and I can't hear him. Okay, let's take a small break. We'll pause and we'll get into Henry Davis. We'll figure out what's going on with Jake's audio and his video, and we'll be right back. And we're back here on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. We got Jake's video and audio figured out here, I think.
Hopefully it stays figured out.
There we go. There he is. He's back. All right, let's talk Henry Davis, man, because obviously this is what everybody wants to talk about. This is the big thing that's happening. It broke earlier today during the game that Henry Davis was going to be called up. And, of course, he was sitting today, and so everyone made their jokes. You know what I mean? Oh, he's not playing. Neither is Nick Gonzalez. They're both going to be here tomorrow. And, so it's... I find it hard to give someone credit for getting it right this time when like 7,000 people say it every time somebody has a day off. This is just the one that you were right on. It's like saying it was the last place I looked for that thing that I lost. It's basically what it was.
Yeah.
So a little bit of Henry Davis here because there's some surprising things. I know that there have been people asking for Henry Davis to be called up. But the truth of it is that this is the fastest moving 1-1 since 1978, according to a couple people that have kind of looked into this and done some research.
81 or something like
421 minor league at-bats.
21. That's crazy, dude.
It's the fewest since like some guy in 1978 for a 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you could say, well, yeah, but there's been other round one draft picks that have moved just as fast or faster. So that's fair. That's a fair thing to say. However, it is interesting that this has happened in Pittsburgh. And
right.
and the Josh Roundtree is one that tweeted it out where he says Bryce Harper, Alex Rodriguez, Chipper Jones, Ken Griffey Jr., Darryl Strawberry all had more minor league at-bats. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Those guys didn't go to college, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Also, I brought this up before we started. Also, when they got there, they stayed there. So,
yeah,
this is only a really good thing once Henry comes up and does well.
Yeah, I could see that. I also think that there is a little bit here. I think there's a little bit here of, and I'm not going to go to bat for anybody or try to defend anyone or anything like that. But there's a little bit of like, hey, if this is the case, if this is any kind of he moved fast, then a little bit of credit has to go to the people making the decisions on how fast. You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit there. I understand we want these guys up, and I understand that we're all critical of the Super 2. We are too. The control thing is the year of control It's within the rules. People signed the papers. They said this is the rule. So there's a little bit of, I'd rather see him there opening day myself, but I understand in the market that we're in and in the baseball economics that exist right now. I understand that extra year of control. It's important.
Sure.
So I'm okay with that. I mean, literally the word okay. It's not like I'm satisfied, right? But I'm okay. I get it. But the Super 2 thing, you're just messing with the money. He's still going to have the same amount of service time. You're just going to have to pay him a year early. Well, who cares? You should be paying him a year early then. If he's a real difference maker, then pay him a year early. So no, I don't agree with that. I don't think that it's needed. It's not that much more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, I can be critical of that and at the same time say he moved fast and we thought he might, but just to put things in perspective, whether you agree, disagree, whatever, we went down. Like we didn't get the 1-1 guy. We got the 1-4 guy essentially. And yet he's moved fast, which is kudos to him, kudos to development, kudos to everyone involved. We saved a little bit of money in that, and that was kind of the criticism from a lot of people. But then here we are, probably there's a lot of the same people saying, when's he getting called up?
Right.
And here he is. He's getting called up. It's 118 games.
And that's battling through injuries too, because he had some injuries there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, big kudos to the way he's worked hard to develop and everything, but also just a way to battle and recover from injuries and still develop quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you could make a case that he's been able to hit from day one. You know what I mean? Like, really. You could make a case that was like, this guy was always going to hit. It's always been about, can he catch? I think the answer to that might have been that they just found out he can play right field.
Yeah, and play it well.
So he's out there making diving catches. He's throwing people out, all the things. The versatility, to me, fast-tracked Henry Davis. When he played right field well, and this was a guy who said, I'm only bringing one glove to camp.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought that other one to Indy because it didn't go bad. And I know you want to be a catcher, but I want you to play every day. The truth of the matter is catchers don't play every day anymore. And maybe there's somebody out there proving me wrong. Maybe, who knows? I don't. How much does Adley Rutschman catch? I don't know. Is he every day? How, you know what I mean? Does he take the days off that most of these catchers do? I don't know. I haven't looked it up.
He does.
So he does. Okay, so I don't know. But anyway,
he doesn't get completely out of the lineup. He stays in like DHs and
right. And so
he plays a little bit of first base.
Okay, so that would be great for Henry Davis, except for the fact that like we've got Kutch at DH, and as far as I'm concerned, it needs to stay that way because he will stay on this team and on this roster so long as he keeps doing that. I'm not saying the guy's completely fragile, but like he's older than Henry Davis is. Let's put Henry Davis in right field for those days. You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you. Yeah.
So I like it. I think our outfield really could have used. To me, Sawinski's best in right field. I think his arm is good. I think right field needs a really powerful arm. Sawinski has a good arm. He doesn't have a great arm. You know what I mean? And so there's a little bit of where is his best position? I'm not sure. I really like him in right field. He plays a fine center field too. But if you're coming at me right now, if you're yelling at the screen saying Sawinski needs to sit, you're just not on my level. We're not going to agree on that. Like he needs to be in the lineup, period. Yeah. And I know that he's a polarizing figure, but for me, he's young enough as well. The power is absolutely real. Without question, it's real. And if you're worried about, and I've talked about it, if you're worried about win probability added, the only way you get better at things like that is by playing. And he has the power that he deserves to play. Done with Sawinski. We're not going to bring it up again unless we do. That's how you say things. But for
Well
Henry
said.
Davis going into right field, that's a great fit.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
Shelton said we are carrying all three catchers, which means he will play right field. So just to
Yeah.
throw it out there, not that we have any kind of idea at all, but what's the ratio of catcher, right field, and DH that we see Henry Davis in?
I don't think he's gonna DH much at all.
Okay. I think I'm with you there.
Yeah, and I think he'll catch 1 or 2 days a week and play right field the other days.
Do you think this is a 50-50? You think it's more of a he's going to play right field most of the time?
I think he's gonna end up playing right field most of the time. Because if you're carrying all three catchers, I think you're going to catch Delay and you're going to catch. I mean, Hedges is at least going to catch Keller.
I think so too. I think Hedges needs to keep catching Keller. And then Delay, you can have somebody else. And then I think Henry Davis gets the rest of them for now. Maybe not. Maybe there's a couple mixed in. Maybe there's, some different ones. Beto will start tomorrow. I don't know. Do you think he'll be in right field tomorrow, or do you think he'll be catching for his debut?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I would imagine he hasn't even been in AAA much, so he probably hasn't even caught Beto.
I wonder if he's even.
Like,
Yeah, I wonder if he's even caught Beto. I could look it up, but we're live on here, so
right,
I don't
yeah.
want to pause it again just to look that up.
I would guess he's going to be in right field, but our guess is as good as anyone's.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Did Beto spend last year in AA? I think he might have. I can't think off the top of my head. So he might have caught him. He might have some familiarity.
Just maybe not this year.
Yeah. And then if Beto was in AAA last year, Delay spent a lot of time there. So I think if I'm right about that. So anyway, it's funny how often you forget there. What would you do if it was your call, regardless of what you think is going to happen? Give me short term and long term.
I mean, I like the way he profiles in right field. I mean, you're looking at some other catchers just off the top of my head is Bryce Harper moved to right field. They're like, listen, we need your bat in there every day.
Yeah.
You're playing right field. We need you long term. You're playing right field. Do I think Henry Davis can still catch? Absolutely. I just think he's going to catch a lot less often, and he's going to play a lot of right field.
Yeah, and one would depend on who else is around. What other options do you have? If you put Henry Davis in right field right now, then you still have Hedges and Delay at the plate. So I'm kind of like, well, I want him catching right now. But Endy's coming too. Who's better? Henry Davis has the better arm. But who's the better catcher? Who deserves to be catching more often? Who can play another position? Like who can, because then you're saying like if these guys are long-term, they've got to be playing at the same time. And if Kutch is still there and you can't just flip them at DH and catcher all the time and carry that third catcher for, any kind of injuries or substitutions or days, you know what I mean? You could, to figure those things out, which I think is a real thing. I think they could do that. I think they could 50-50 that, or 45-45 that catcher spot, DH kind of thing, but then have another guy there in case you have to do something different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That way you don't have a situation where you're got to pinch it for your pitcher the rest of the game because some guy got hit on the hand and needs to take the rest of the day off. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, if one of those guys could just move to a spot and have a spot where he can play every day, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. So how about the fact that he leapfrogged Endy? Was that surprising? Because I really thought Endy was the next guy coming.
I mean, results are a big reason why you get called up, and Henry Davis he's out hitting Endy right now.
For the season, though, right? I mean, lately, Endy's been hitting as well. And if you look at lately, Henry Davis has been hitting well. You know what I'm saying? You're also saying that he's been hitting that well in 10 days at AAA. If I bring up Endy, we're going to do, do they do the, like, the stats are still loading here for me? Or they're not loading? There they are. And they're not going to give me like last 15 days on here. I need to actually go to Baseball Reference. My bad.
It's all good. I mean, yeah, I just think I don't know where I'm struggling here to think this through. Listen, first off, being on the road is kind of tough because I can't look at anything on my phone.
I know, right?
Now.
You're not looking at anything, so
I'm not looking at nothing.
Your notes and everything are gone, right? I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have it. Either way, he has been hitting well lately. Yeah. And so it is kind of interesting to still see. I would have thought it would be like, well, Endy, now that he's hitting, let's bring Endy up. Henry will be there for a little bit more longer, and then he'll come up.
Well, I mean, it goes to prove that they legitimately had them on the same level.
Yeah, that's a
Even
good
though
point.
They were in Double A and Triple A, they said that these guys are here and here. Like they don't see them differently. Yeah. And this proves that point. I mean, I don't think he leapfrogged anybody. I think that just he's the one they chose.
And that's what first. They said.
Yeah. They wanted them both catching.
That's a great point. Very interesting. Okay, so getting here. Yep, here we are. How long until Endy joins him?
A couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't.
Are we
think
moving?
It's that far.
I was gonna say, are we moving that fast?
I think part of it is looking across the division. You see the Reds pulling these guys up, and they're just exploding, and it's. I don't want to say following suit, but it's hard not to see that and be like, we got these guys that are playing well. We could be doing something like this too.
Do you see the same kind of appeal from Endy that you do from Henry, or from Henry that, like, which one to you screams difference maker and I'm really excited about this? Is it because we drafted Henry that you're saying this is our guy, and then Endy is also really good? Or, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, as far as hype goes, is there more hype for Henry than there is for Endy? Or do you think it's the other way because we thought Endy was closer? I don't know.
Yeah, another tough question from you for me today.
Sorry, throwing them all at you, bro.
But yeah, I think a big part of it is we drafted Henry 1-1. I think there's a big hype there. To get Endy in a trade is a bonus. And I think that Henry's going to make a bigger impact right away because he's going to hit the ball over the fence more.
Yeah, I think that was my kind of thought process in there as well, is that he is going to hit the ball over the fence more. I think the power plays, all that sort of thing. And so the numbers in the minors they'll back that up. 118 games, 421 at bats, like we said, 24 home runs, 276, 404 on base, 404 on base, 523 slugging, good for a 927 OPS, and that's total for all of it. Two levels in 21, the year he was drafted, but you're talking about 8 games, so big deal. But he knocked 3 home runs in 8 games.
Right.
And then, last year, really mostly very little in rookie and low A. Bradenton, it was kind of, I'm not even sure. The rookie must have been a rehab, maybe both of them were. But high A Greensboro, 341, 450, 585. That's a 1 dot, bro. And then he goes to Double A, 31 games, 4 more homers. He had 5 home runs in Greensboro. Still hits 4 in Double A. Average was down 207, so there was the injuries that happened during that time. Still got on base at 324, still for a 703 OPS. So you knew that coming into the offseason, like, yeah, he's got a little work to do. But maybe it was just injury related, because in his 41 games this year in Double-A, he hit 10 home runs, 284, is that a 33 on base? My eyes still don't work well. 980 OPS, and then they moved him up for just 10 games. And he had a 946 OPS in those 10 games, and he had the one home run, but we're talking 10 games, and now he's being called up. And I think it was when he got there, I think it was, hey, this guy's fine. This guy's fine. He needs to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think they just a quick little pit stop in AAA just to be like, hey, everything's working for you in Double-A. Let's see what it does in AAA real quick. Then we're going to make the call.
Yeah.
And when it translated just fine, like he didn't miss a beat, just smashing the ball, hitting it hard, gap to gap.
You wonder if the evaluators are there. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to see him come here. And then when he got there, they were like, we're wasting our time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's all it was. Hey,
yep.
We're wasting our time. It's there. He's good. He can hit. I don't know.
Yep.
And maybe it was the right field. Maybe it was hey, you're going up there, but you're going to have to play some right field. And, maybe that's how you get him there, mentally, to say, you might have to play some outfield. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know how those conversations went, if they were even difficult conversations.
Right.
So, Henry Davis, guys, get excited. It is worth getting excited about. If this team is going to figure this out, and I'm talking, let's say, if I have to do it right, if this franchise is going to figure this thing out, Henry Davis needs to be a part of that. And that's why we get excited about stuff like this.
Yep.
And Nick Gonzalez should be a part of that. And we know, like, this is another first-round draft pick, right? The year before Henry Davis. And Henry Davis has blown through this. Now, it's 1-1 versus 1-7, but still, Nick Gonzalez didn't do that. And so
right.
He's still, that doesn't make him late. It just makes Henry that early. And obviously, the strikeouts are still something that Nick Gonzalez needs to work on. Luckily, we don't have Hedges and Delay playing second base. We actually have three bodies that are up there who are working on being everyday. They're close, right? They're close to being everyday major league players. Obviously, talking about Marcano, Castro, and Bay. One of those three guys can figure this thing out and have a long career. Maybe all three of them, but the point is we're fine. Nick Gonzalez can take his time. But at the catcher position right now, we needed somebody to move quick. Yep. And, it looks like we have two of them still. Like, it's still that. But I'm sorry, the offense needs help. And
yep.
This is why he's going to play right field. This is because the offense needs help. And if you've got two guys coming that can help the offense, then put them both in.
Yep.
So
I agree.
I'm pumped, man.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You know what, Henry?
I'm actually hoping our softball games get rained out tomorrow or tonight so I can watch the game.
Here you go, Henry. There we go. And Ben for doing it. Whether you're on the camp of, I can't believe he did this, or you're in the camp of finally, which I think everyone is justified in their own belief.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think that he's just going to go up there and just start striking out a bunch. I think he's a hitter.
Yeah.
And he's going to be able to learn from a couple good defensive catchers. So hopefully he doesn't pay attention to how Hedges is getting his catcher's interferences. If we could keep him from doing that.
Dude, I'm not even going to go there.
I have seen some people say that it's happening all around right now. So I don't know what in the world could cause that. Well, we got bigger bases now, so no
Pitch clock
clue.
now.
What? Yeah, pitch clock. We're gonna have more catcher's interferences as a result. Like I have no clue how any of this stuff could play into more catcher's interferences. I have no clue, but either way, let's look forward to what's ahead. Actually,
Don't be surprised if he's in the middle of the order too.
I will be.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's batting 5 or 6.
Well, yeah, but that's not 3 or 4.
No,
Okay.
that 5 is the 5 is the middle of the order though.
I get
I wouldn't
that.
be surprised if he finds the 5 hole.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. I guess I wouldn't be surprised at that.
3, 4, 5's your middle, or 4, 5. Yeah, 3, 4, 5's middle.
Yep. All right, Cubs coming into Pittsburgh, and we owe them. We owe them for what just happened in Chicago. You there?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, okay. There.
Yeah.
So right now the Cubs are. Let me refresh this because I wrote this down, but I don't know if the game was finished. Did they lose? I'm on the wrong. Here we are. They did. They lost that game. They were ahead, I thought. Anyway, they just lost after winning. I thought they had won 6 straight, but it looks like Baltimore came back and beat them. So they're 7-3 in their last 10. They have not won 6 in a row. They did not sweep the Orioles, but they did win the series against the Orioles. They won the first 2 games. Looks like the Orioles beat them today. But they're 34-38. They're still in 33-38. They're still in 4th place, which puts us, we're 2.5 games back. They're 4 games back. We're in 3rd place now, guys. The Reds are on fire. 8 straight wins. They've got all the young guys up. They're all playing like they think they're already Hall of Famers, which is what young players do. That's what you want. Obviously, Milwaukee holding down a half-game lead over Cincinnati. But the Cubs come in 7-3 in their last 10. We just saw them for 3 of those 10, so we know exactly what they're bringing.
Yeah.
So Monday, we have Beto versus Drew Smiley. He's got a 3.59 ERA. And obviously Henry Davis's debut. Tuesday, Oviedo versus Marcus Stroman, 2.45 ERA. He's been crazy good this year. And Wednesday, it's an afternoon game, I think 12:30 Eastern. Rich Hill versus Kyle Hendricks. So if you hate velocity, that'd be a great game to watch. Hendricks has a 3.18 ERA this year so far. So offense is going to have to click, and they've got actually 3 good pitchers to go up against.
Yeah.
Do I have to say
in the previously? I know we've hit Hendricks pretty well.
Do I have to say that I like our lefty lineup? I like it a little bit better tomorrow with Henry Davis in it.
Yeah.
I like it a little bit better tomorrow. Could the recency of seeing them help the offense, or could it help pitching? We'll find out.
Right.
We have a guy that they haven't seen yet, so
right.
Imagine if he just homers,
and a good one
right out of the gate, just comes out homers in game 1. That would be sweet.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be amazing. All right, guys.
Amazing.
This is a fun time. This is the kind of thing I do have. You know what? I do want to say one more thing though, because the Henry Davis. This is something we should be very excited about. And I think the problem is this season. We talked about this a little bit on Friday. Because of the fact that we've been in first place for so long, or so often, spent quite a few days at first place this year. I think that we're premature with our excitement. And not that we shouldn't be, because we should be. We should be excited when we're in first place.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a lot of the hate. Oh, they're not going to be for long. And that's fine too, like for you to think that. But like we're stepping on each other because we believe one thing or the other. And I think that that's foolish. I think we should you should be excited when we're winning. However, don't get like really bent out of shape when this starts to go south, because we're like I said before, we're a 500 team. We're under 500 right now. But when I say right now, we are basically a 500 team, because we could get hot again and still kind of hover there. But that's it. Like, that's what it's going to be. If you win your division as a team like that, that's awesome. It's a lot of fun. But these are the types of things, Henry Davis making his Major League debut, these are the types of things that back in April or March, you could say, that we thought were going to be the exciting moments.
Yeah.
And I still think that they are. So just because we're fallen out of first place doesn't mean this is when I can't even get excited about Henry Davis anymore. Because we're now 2 games under 500.
I mean, at 34 and 31, we should not have even been in first place.
That's the thing. We should still be in third place, and we should say, oh, we were a little bit above 500. Now we're a little below. We need to get back.
Mm-hmm. And this is a great opportunity for us to get back with bringing up a guy like Henry Davis.
Right. And so this is a way to kind of catch a little bit of fire, and then, Andy's coming, and, who else you don't know, but what else can happen this year? I mean, we still haven't seen Brian Reynolds really catch fire since the beginning of the year.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's some guys that can still, eventually O'Neal Cruz is back in this lineup this year. You talk about the excitement then. Go ahead.
Yeah, that'll be a huge pickup for us.
Yeah, let the excitement kind of build. It's okay. These are the types of things, individual efforts that we need to be getting excited about and getting answers on. If Rodolfo Castro cannot figure out how to hit right-handed pitching, and Jack Sawinski can't figure out how to hit left-handed pitching, which we've already seen strides of the better there, then maybe you get some answers there, right?
Yeah.
And so you just have to figure that sort of thing out. And the only way to do that is see them play and get an opportunity. And Ji-Hwan Bae has so many electric tools. Castro's got the power. Marcano has stuff too. And so it just depends on which guy's going to be there or which guy's going to fall more into a backup role. But if those guys can stick around, it's deep. Instead of Matthias and whoever else I can't think of right now who's been there. Palacios. Even Kanan Smith-Njigba, I think, is a part-time. He is going to be a backup outfielder in the major leagues right now. That's what it looks like. Anyway, let's not go down a rabbit hole here. The point is these are the things to be excited about. First place is fun when it's happening, but knowing in context that we shouldn't be in first place.
Right.
So, anyway. Let's go. Henry Davis. Let's sweep the Cubs. This is where we make our bold. Let's sweep the Cubs. Henry Davis hits 2 jacks in the 3 games. And then what? We go to Miami after that? Let's take Andy to Miami with us. I don't know.
Yeah.
That seems maybe a little... We'll have a day off next Monday. Andy can come back home and play his debut against the Padres next week. Win-win. Let's do it.
Why not?
All right. Let's go, Bucks.
Let's go, Bucks.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks.